All right, good afternoon, everybody. I was watching a couple prepper channels yesterday, and I don't even dislike the prepper channels. I think they mean well, but they're talking about how Ukraine is losing, or Ukraine is winning, Russia's losing, and this and that. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. When I do ask them what leads them to believe that Ukraine is winning, they either won't respond, or when they do, they tell me, well, this was on the news, this was on the news, this was on the news. For 2+ years, the same channels that are saying, well, it was on the news, was calling the news fake news. Now all of a sudden, because it's Russia and Ukraine, they believe everything that the news says. The news hasn't changed. The news is still fake news. They tell you what your government wants you to believe and what your government wants you to hear. I've had people say, well, why would they do that? Why would they say Ukraine is winning if it's not? So that they can keep sending money to Ukraine, so that they can keep laundering it back to themselves. And so that they can keep the war machine going, because a lot of them invested in the companies that make war shit. Rockets, tanks, planes, whatever. Something else that's come up twice just recently is a woman named Layla. I can't remember her last name. She may be a nice woman. She may even believe what she's saying. But everybody's addressing her like she's some kind of prophet. I did a little research into it. She has been wrong. Matter of fact, she said that Hillary Clinton would be president, and that didn't happen. This woman may be legitimate, maybe not. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything bad about her or anything else. But it does say in the Bible to beware of false prophets. I'm not trusting what anybody tells me as far as visions and this and that. I have had dreams in my past where it turned out later on in life very close to what I had dreamt. That's not a vision. I am not a prophet. That is a coincidence, is the best way I can put it. If Ukraine was winning, why is it constantly being shown that Russia's bombing this, Russia's bombing that? 90% of Kiev's electrical's out, along with tons of other places. The infrastructure's collapsing. And that's what they're showing you on regular news. But somehow Ukraine's still winning. Yes, they have attacked Russia. They have not inflicted any kind of damage on Russia compared to what Russia has reflected on Ukraine. And that's just if you watch the mainstream media and put two and two together. That's obvious. The other thing is, why won't the mainstream media show you the videos of Ukrainian troops telling Zelensky and his general that they better hope that the Russians capture them, because if not, they're going to kill them for what they've done to them. We're sending all this money over, and the Ukrainian army is starving, freezing to death, running out of ammo. How are they winning? I don't dislike these other prepper channels. Well, other than Canadian prepper. I just don't like that guy. He tries to act like he's part of the United States, and he's not. He's a Canadian. And it's not that I have anything against Canadians. I actually have some subscribers on the gun channel that I really like that are Canadians. And there may even be Canadians on this channel subscribed. I just don't like the way he portrays himself as he speaks for the United States. He doesn't speak for the United States. And I don't know anybody that thinks he speaks for the United States. But he sure acts like he does. Getting back to Ukraine and Russia, it's very sad that Russians are being forced to fight in this war. It's also very sad that Ukrainians are being forced to fight in it. It's very sad what's happening to the Ukrainian people right now. But my dad used to have a saying, and my granddad, you lay with dogs, you're going to get fleas. We overthrew the legitimate Ukrainian government years ago, I think during the Obama era. And we put in a government that we wanted in there. Our politicians did, so that they could launder their money and all that crap. Hang on, I gotta run into this gas station and I'll be right back. But, so back in the day, I believe it was during Obama, we helped overthrow the Ukrainian government. We do this shit all the time. We go sticking our nose into all these other countries, and it never turns out well. Look at Vietnam. Left it worse than when we got there. Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, you name it, the list goes on and on. It's not about democracy. It's not about human rights or anything else. It's about money. All about money for these rich politicians, right and left. Period. If it was about democracy and freedom and all that, we wouldn't have left all these countries in worse shape than... Excuse me. We wouldn't have left all these countries in worse shape than when we started. Just because you want something to be true, you want Ukraine to win, ain't gonna make it happen. I want our politicians to follow through with that oath they took and quit infringing on our rights. It ain't gonna happen. Period. Do you really think that Russia would have went into this invasion had they not 100% sure that they would win this invasion over Ukraine? I mean, you got China talking with Russia, Syria working with Russia, North Korea is allied with Russia. 3 of them countries despise America, and I'm sure Russia does too. You also have Russia having meetings with Saudi Arabia, and then when Biden went to get them not to cut oil production and that, they basically told him to get fucked. You have, I believe, a military action happening or about to happen in Haiti. You have the Russia-Ukraine. It looks like China and Taiwan may pop off pretty soon here. Maybe these other large superpowers and other countries that are supporting them, did anyone stop to think that maybe they're trying to wear our military down by giving away all of our military hardware, by bankrupting our country, then maybe they cut oil off to the United States completely. Maybe that's why Russia's working with Saudi Arabia and these other OPEC countries and that to cut us off eventually, right when we're at our weakest. Maybe all of this stuff is to actually weaken us. Not that they could invade this country and take it over. There's too many armed citizens with guns. But if they could bankrupt this country and make it really hard for us to feed ourselves, I mean, just look at what happened during COVID with the rioting and the looting. Just think if it was happening all over the country, how many people would die, and then how many people would starve to death, along with other things. Sure thin the population down where if them countries all came together, could probably put a hurting on the U.S. I still don't know if they could take it, but it'd be a better chance than what they'd ever have as long as we were strong. I mean, that's something to think about, people. I'm not saying that it's going to happen or nothing else. Here's another thing to think about. In that lady's prediction, she says that the Muslims will rise up and kill Putin and paint the square with Putin's blood, this and that. Iran, some of these other countries that are huge Muslim countries are actually supporting Putin, providing drones and other stuff. What's one thing the Muslims got in common? They all hate America. I think they would much rather destroy America than Putin. Everything in here is just my opinions. I just don't want to paint the rosy picture that a lot of these prepper channels are painting, because I think it's bullshit. And we will find out. I mean, sooner or later, I think. I really thought that Russia would have took Ukraine in weeks or a month. And then I've noticed that it seems like they're trying to, and in war, shit happens. But it actually seems like they are trying to do as the least amount of civilian casualties as possible. They could have waylaid that area and killed way more civilians and won this thing already than what they have. And people say, oh, well, they were afraid of NATO. Let me tell you something. Russia is not afraid of NATO. Not when it comes to Ukraine. Ukraine is not a NATO country. Push comes to shove, most of the countries in NATO are not going to go to World War III over a non-NATO country. Ain't going to happen. Here's another thing. What would the United States have done if Russia was setting up bases, military hardware, and everything else and pointing it at the USA? There's no way they'd have stood by and allowed that to happen. What do you think Russia was going to do when we were doing the same exact thing on the Ukraine border? I mean, these are all things you got to look at. Will Russia use nukes? I don't think so, unless it's a last resort. But I guarantee you this, I'll bet you they'll use strategic nukes before they lose this war. Like I said, these are all my opinions. I just think there's a lot of prepper channels out there that are telling you all kinds of shit on their feelings, and they're not looking at the big picture. Maybe I'm missing the big picture. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. But I think that there's a whole lot of prepper channels that are sitting here and blowing smoke up your ass because they feel bad for the Ukrainian people. Like I said, I feel bad for the Ukrainian people too. I'm not here to blow smoke up your ass. I'm here to tell you how I think, how I feel about it, You're more than welcome to tell me how you think, how you feel about it in the comments. If you agree with me, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Nobody's making you watch. I don't ask you to subscribe. I don't ask you to like. I don't ask you to share it. I don't ask you for money. I don't ask you for anything. This is just a place where I can try and get people to think from different angles so that we don't get tunnel vision and can't see nothing else that's going around us. Like I said, the proper channels that are spewing that shit, I don't think they're bad people. I don't think they're bad channels. I actually like some of them. I watch them sometimes. Like I said, I think they're just talking on prayers and hopes and not reality. And them are the thoughts of a pissed off American. Everybody have a good day and Happy New Year.